Please welcome back the President of the United States Conference of Mayors, Columbus, Ohio Mayor Andrew Ginther.
Let's give it up for our friends from the Ukraine that have joined us here at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Incredible patriots and partners. So glad to have you here and so glad to stand with you to support freedom and democracy all over the world. God bless you. Long live Ukraine. This meeting marks the 5th year in which we have welcomed a top Target executive to the podium to announce the winners of our Police Reform and Equitable Justice Grant Program. This grant program was created by the conference and Target to recognize and reward cities of all sizes for the policies and practices that their police departments are employing today in pursuit of protecting all the people they're sworn to serve. Our presenter has more than 20 years of experience in government affairs, having worked in both the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate, as well as presidential campaigns. Before joining Target, he was the Director of Congressional and Public Affairs for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, where he was an advocate for issues including equity, immigration, cybersecurity, education, and more. Today, he will announce the 3 winners of this 5th round of grants, totaling $350,000 going to our cities for their outstanding efforts. It's my pleasure to introduce to you and bring to the stage Target's Senior Vice President for Government Affairs, Isaac Reyes. Isaac?
Thank you, Mayor Ginther, for that incredibly warm introduction, and it's truly a pleasure to be back with all of you again this year. It's been great spending time with so many of you over the past days and in the coming days to hear about the progress that you're driving in your cities. On behalf of the entire team at Target, I just want to start by saying thank you. Your commitment to your communities year after year is inspiring. We're so proud to partner with you to make the neighborhoods across the country stronger and more vibrant. You know, at Target, we have an essential role at supporting the thousands of communities where we operate. We have more than 2,000 stores, over 60 supply chain facilities, and we serve millions of guests each and every year, and we provide jobs for more than 420,000 team members across all 50 states. And we feel a deep responsibility to show up for the millions of people who not only rely on Target, but look to it as their happy place. And that responsibility starts with our team. And we're so proud to have awarded scholarships to over 30,000 team members to help them advance in their careers. We've also created meaningful opportunities for them to thrive both personally and professionally. And each year, we commit 5% of our profits to the communities where they live and work, the communities that you all lead, fueling our purpose of helping all families discover the joy of everyday life. And our team's impact does not stop at the store entrance. They are deeply involved in their communities, and I love this statistic. Our team members volunteer over 1 million hours each and every year in the communities where they live and serve. Over the last year, whether it was fueling economic development or supporting disaster relief, they stepped up and we were proud to stand with them. When crisis hits, we step up and we support the communities we serve, often alongside so many of you. After the Los Angeles wildfires, we donated over $1 million to relief partners in the state. And when Hurricanes Milton and Helene devastated parts of Florida and the Gulf Coast, we committed more than $4.5 million in donations, and we partnered with local and national nonprofits to meet the urgent needs on the ground. And in each case, we were so grateful to work alongside so many of you here, our local leaders, whose guidance made it possible to respond with speed and compassion. Your insights allowed us to respond quickly and meaningfully, so together we can drive long-term impact that truly matters. And that's why today I'm so pleased to share that Target is partnering once again with the U.S. Conference of Mayors for the 4th straight year to provide funding for the Police Reform and Equitable Justice Grant. This initiative aims to identify, support, and promote police policies and practices in cities that have been shown to be the most effective in advancing the goal of justice for all. It's my honor to announce this year's winner. In the category of large city, our $175,000 grant winner is Mayor Aftab Puravel in the city of Cincinnati, Ohio. This award was for their Crisis Receiving Center, and Cincinnati is looking to enhance their Crisis Receiving Center that offers an alternative to both arrest and the emergency room. The center is focused on both providing an immediate response and connection to ongoing support and services. Next up is the winner of the $100,000 mid-sized city grant, and it goes to Mayor Dana Ralph in the city of Kent, Washington. This was awarded for their Community Immersion Law Enforcement Program. Now, this program is an internship for newly hired police recruits, and the goal of the program is to build trust between the Kent Police Department and the community it serves by embedding recruits in local nonprofit organizations before they even attend the police academy. And lastly, the winner of the $75,000 small city grant goes to Mayor George Flagg Jr. in the city of Vicksburg, Mississippi. The grant is awarded to the Vicksburg and Warren County Youth Development Center program. The program was formed in response to the generational poverty in Vicksburg that created barriers to student success, often leading to crime and violence in the youth populations. The center employs a full-time police officer that is funded by the Vicksburg Police Department to build relationships with students and their families. I know we have some of the mayors in attendance here. If they would please stand and we can all give them another round of applause, please. We believe in your mission and in the power of working together to move communities forward. So thank you again for your service, for your partnership, and all you do to make this country stronger, city by city. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Thanks for your continued partnership with Target. And how about that? $350,000 going to our cities. It's a great thing for cities across America. As Mayor of Columbus, I know that progress doesn't happen in a vacuum. It takes bold vision, compassionate leadership, and a deep commitment to the people we serve. And today, I have the honor of introducing a leader who embodies all of that and more. Our next speaker is an advocate for equity, education, and economic opportunity. From the classroom to the Cook County Board, and now is the 57th mayor of Chicago. He has brought a fresh perspective and a deep dedication to uplifting communities across his city. He understands the challenges our cities face, and more importantly, he understands the strength we have when we face them together. Please join me in welcoming to the stage my friend and our colleague, the Mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It is truly an honor to be with you all for the 93rd annual meeting for the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Our gathering is important, and I think everyone in this room knows that, particularly in this moment where we have the opportunity to learn from one another and to inspire each other. But we also have an opportunity to work collaboratively together so that we can build a nation that is rooted in justice and dignity and opportunity for all. And speaking of inspiration, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge what created a pathway for me to be here today. About 25 years ago, I had the opportunity to start working for a state senator in Illinois who is now the Senate president. And in working for him and with him as his director of constituent services, I convinced him that I needed to go to the Black Women's Expo in order to develop professionally. because I wanted to hear an individual speak at the Black Women's Expo who turns out was a assistant principal and deputy mayor of his city. I was at a crossroads in my life where I wasn't sure which path to take to ultimately fulfill my purpose. Would I still pursue my desire to become a public school teacher, or would I take on this new responsibility in government and in politics? Well, I rushed down to the location where the Black Women's Expo was being held, and I wanted to get to the stage just before this individual began to lead his panel. And sure enough, I was on time, got to the edge of the steps, and this young brother approached the steps, and before he got to the stage, I explained to him that I was working for a state senator, but I really wanted to become a public school teacher. And I just needed some guidance, and I asked him what I should do. And he looked me in the face with clear consciousness, and he said, "Young brother, you should do both." His name was Ras Baraka. And I want to give a special shout out to Mayor Ras Baraka for speaking into my life over 25 years ago. I am not mayor of Chicago without your bold, courageous leadership. And so it gives me tremendous honor to address you all today. And what is always top of mind for us as mayors of cities, it's community safety. There is certainly a national spotlight on Chicago when it comes to crime, especially gun violence. And I can share with you all today my unique experience and perspective as mayor of the beloved city. But the truth is, violence is pervasive in many of our communities across the United States. In fact, we share this common problem, but more importantly, we share common solutions. Chicago is not defined by its crime statistics, just like your cities are not defined by your perspective or your respective challenges. We are defined ultimately by how we lead and how we serve our residents. And here's how Chicago is leading around safety. On day one, when I became mayor, I created the Mayor's Office of Community Safety and appointed Garion Gatewood as the first deputy mayor for community safety. And Deputy Mayor Gatewood brought with him an extensive background in community violence prevention and intervention work. He, along with the Mayor's Office of Community Safety, they lead the city's work to be collaborative, bold, and our pursuit for safer communities. Early in my administration, my office and the city of Chicago came together to create the People's Plan for Community Safety. The People's Plan was built on the input, vision, and expertise of stakeholders across Chicago, from police and community violence intervention groups to the faith community, business community, nonprofits, community groups, and youth groups, and government partners as a whole. And in Chicago, we understand that true safety does not come from policing alone. In fact, it comes from all of us. It comes from all of us partnering together to invest in the communities and people that are most affected by violence. But we also have to make sure there are opportunities for people to heal who have been impacted by violence. And while all of Chicago feels the adverse effects of violence, we know that not all 77 community areas of Chicago experience these challenges the same. And so it is no coincidence that communities experiencing the highest rates of violence experience disinvestment and neglect. And they've experienced these disinvestments and neglect for decades, creating gaps in access to healthcare, education, housing, and so much more. And that is why the People's Plan focuses on both collaboration and interventional investments that address the root causes of crime, of which many people say or suggest that if you invest in the root causes of crime, that takes too long to materialize. Well, I'm living proof that it's not just about time, but it really requires commitment. And so we take a people and place-based approach to our investments, responding to the people and areas in need on a hyper-local level, literally going block to block to address where our people need opportunities and communities need growth. And one example of the the people-based investment is our investment in mental health services. It is well past time that we no longer stigmatize the need to provide behavioral and mental health services for people across America. Too many people are living and suffering from trauma because government is not doing enough to address that trauma. Well, when previous mayors shut down behavioral and mental health clinics, particularly publicly ran, we reopened them. I reopened a public mental health clinic in the Roseland community on the far south side of Chicago, bringing health and physical health services to a community that has long been denied equitable access. Another example of people-focused investment is the city of Chicago and the Chicago Park District, where we are providing late-night opportunities for young people and young adults to interact in a variety of activities, bringing sports and food and music as a way to create activative spaces so that our young people have somewhere to go. We are targeting these activations to ensure that we're keeping people safe and engaging them throughout the summer. We bring communities together, and when we do that, people benefit. And this program builds upon an array of city programs that are focused on youth engagement. In fact, this summer, we are providing 29,000 jobs for young people this summer, a 45% increase since I've been in office. But it's also making sure that we are investing in building housing. My administration recently passed the Green Social Housing Policy, making Chicago the largest U.S. city to enact green social housing. This policy establishes a revolving loan, and this fund utilizes the fund to build mixed as well as affordable housing units that meet green standards, because too many families are losing housing or are not able to have stable housing because they cannot afford utility. This is an innovative and bold approach to investing in both housing and environmental justice. Since taking office, we've built 4,000 affordable homes, 1,800 under construction, another 4,600 within the next 16 months. We are working to build a safe, affordable big city in America, and we're doing it together. But it's also important that we have a police force that is constitutionally equipped. Last week, we saw a clear example of how law enforcement can show up to protect the First Amendment right. We had thousands of demonstrators in our streets of Chicago protesting against the policies of the Trump administration. And with thousands of families all over the city of Chicago protesting their disdain towards this administration, we were able to not only protect their First Amendment right, we only had one arrest. It's proof positive that when you have a police force that understands its responsibility to secure and to support the fundamental right in our democracy, we can do it without incident. And I'm grateful that we have a police superintendent in Larry Snelling who understands the importance of integrity, accountability, and trust. And finally, as of this morning, with all of the work that we're doing collectively in Chicago, violent crime in the city of Chicago is down by 21%. Homicides are down 30%. Shootings are down 40%. Shooting victims are down 42%. Robberies are down 32%. It is proof positive when you invest in people, ensure that we have constitutional policing, we can build safe, affordable cities across America. Now, in closing, though we take this progress in stride, but any number of tragedy or tragedies, it's unacceptable. Our work continues as mayors. Now, we're the very few people on the planet where everybody and their mama has our phone number. And whether it's potholes or responding to international crises or anything else in between, we are the ones that are responsible to ensure that our budgets reflect our values. But we also know that we cannot do this work alone. I'm grateful to the partnership and the leadership that is in this room today. Through this annual conference, we have the opportunity to build a brighter future for working people across America. It is not simply about a political position. It is about the righteous position that each and every one of us get to take to ensure that working people are seen, loved, and supported. The power of the municipal government is the power that builds continents. City mayors are the ones that show up every single day, ensuring that budgets, housing, education, and community safety all work together to ensure the fullness of our democracy can be reached. And so let's capitalize on the power that we have together to tackle the shared challenges together, but to ensure that working people across the globe are seen, valued, and heard. Let's take the righteous stand, even as the Bible reminds us. Matthew 6:21 says that where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. As city mayors, let's ensure that our hearts always remain with the people. God bless you all, and God bless the greatest conference of all time, the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson, for that inspirational message and all the great work you're doing in Chicago. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the successful partnership between the Conference of Mayors and Major League Baseball. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who has a special message for all of you. For further information, questions, or assistance regarding the Play Ball program, please feel free to follow up with Tom McClyman, Jocelyn, or Jared at the Play Ball booth right outside. Please join me in welcoming Major League Baseball consultant and past president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, Doug Palmer, who will share more about the Mayors Play Ball program and its ongoing efforts to engage young people across the country. Doug?
Happy anniversary, Play Ball. In 2015, under the leadership of 72nd President, Sacramento Mayor Kevin Johnson, the conference partnered with Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred to help create baseball events for youth in cities. The Mayor's Play Ball program started as a month celebration with 50 cities. Under the leadership of Chief Baseball Development Officer Tony Regans, the Mayor's Play Ball program continues to expand with our annual celebration of National Play Ball Weekend, when many cities joined the MLB clubs, 120 minor league affiliate teams, and various youth partners to introduce young people to the sport. Our annual Mayor Tip Your Cap program continues to grow as mayors amplify the importance of America's pastime to our youth in cities. The program's popularity is really apparent when you see mayor events are now held throughout baseball season from March through October, and we really start in Mesa. Mayor Play Ball activations in the past decade have exposed over 100,000 young people to the sport, and now happen every year in over 355 plus cities. At this time, I'd like to introduce a special message from Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred.
On behalf of Major League Baseball, I'm pleased to thank the U.S. Conference of Mayors for a decade of extraordinary support of our Play Ball initiative. When I became commissioner in 2015, my first priority was to increase baseball and softball participation among young people, particularly by encouraging more casual forms of play. We introduced the Play Ball program, and one of our first partners in this effort was the U.S. Conference of Mayors. You brought our goals to life in your cities throughout the United States. I am proud of the impact that we have made together. For the past 5 years, baseball and softball have combined to comprise the most participated team sport in the U.S. among kids 6 to 12. Casual baseball participation has increased 123% for kids ages 6 and older since 2014. And overall, we have more than 26.5 million participants in baseball and softball in our country, an increase of 17% since 2014. We could not have achieved this growth without the engagement of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Together, over the last decade, we have helped to bring fun and healthy activity to our communities through play ball. The power of baseball and softball extends beyond what happens on the field and helps teach young people valuable life lessons about teamwork, commitment, hard work, and overcoming challenges. These are characteristics that help strengthen the communities in which we live. Through 10 years of teamwork, we have demonstrated that our national pastime remains a constant source of positivity throughout the country. Major League Baseball is grateful to the U.S. Conference of Mayors for bringing our game to more people and meaningfully impacting the lives of future players and leaders. We truly thank you for your support.
That was great. Thank you, Commissioner. I say that like he could hear me, right? That was taped. I would like all the 10-year play ball mayors to stand and be recognized and applauded for your decade of continued efforts to help promote the national pastime in cities across the country. I know you're out here, Chris Bowich and you are the all-stars. A big part of the success of this program is driven by mayors. We want all of our play ball mayors to feel special. So please take time to come and get your special pin from the play ball booth. And if you haven't taken your tip your cap photo or planned your event this year, there's still plenty of time to work with Jocelyn, Jared, and Tom to plan a great event in your city. Cheers to many more great years. Play ball. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug, for your continued partnership in leadership. We're now going to have a robust conversation which will focus on the arts in America for its 250th celebration. To lead this conversation is someone you all know well, our past president and mayor of Reno. As many of you know, prior to serving as our 81st president of the conference, she was chair of the Tourism, Arts, Parks, Entertainment, and Sports Standing Committee. This afternoon, she will be joined by the CEO of Americans for the Arts. Please welcome to the stage our past president, Mayor Hillary Sheevey and Aaron Harkey.
All right, good morning. Well, good afternoon now.
Good afternoon.
It's still morning on West Coast time. Anyway, we've got Aaron Harkey in the house.
Oh, thank you.
She's the new CEO of Americans for the Arts. So give it up, huge round of applause for Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, how many mayors love the arts and knows the economic impact of our arts, right? So, okay, tell me, you've been in the job now, what, 3 months?
3 months.
Wow, okay, how's it going?
It's going.
It's going.
Yeah. It's a really, as you know, it's a really dynamic time, but we've dive right in.
I know. You know, I always say arts are the way we package a city, and I really believe that they are so instrumental in bringing us together, the economic impact, those types of things. Talk a little bit about, for those of, you know, you're new to the job, so talk a little bit about who you are and how you got there, because it's an incredible organization, and it's been so good to mayors. So talk a little bit about you and how you got there.
Well, I've spent most of my career working with all of you all in local arts agencies. So my background is in urban planning and art administration.
Nice.
So I've been thinking a lot for a long time about how arts can be utilized to help and shape and inform sort of community vitality. I am a native of Los Angeles.
Oh,
yes.
an Angelino.
An Angelino. So I started my career working at nonprofit organizations in LA, and then also started my career in public service working in Long Beach.
Love Long Beach.
Love Long
Any
Beach.
Long Beach in the house? No? Where are you? Right here? Okay.
And then moved from Long Beach to LA County. So I was servicing the 88 municipalities and unincorporated areas of the county. And about 9 years ago, I moved from LA to Chicago.
Wow.
And worked my way up through the Department of Cultural Affairs, where I was appointed by former Mayor Lori Lightfoot as the Commissioner of the Department of Cultural Affairs. So I led culture in Chicago through difficult COVID times and through recovery. So was able to create the most expansive and equitable grant program in the city's history, which was great. And then that brought me here. 3 months ago, I started at Americans for the Arts.
I love that, because you also speak local government.
I do.
And I always think that that is so important, right?
It's really
Because you really know that local government is where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely, especially now, even more critical than ever.
So let's talk about that, because you sort of alluded to it, and it's on all of our minds.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the landscape of the federal government and the arts right now. Like, are you feeling sort of the pressure or the setbacks, or give me a little picture of what that looks like for your organization?
Yeah, well, the arts were not immune, you know, to, I think, the kind of blunt restructuring of the federal government. I think most acutely felt at the sort of anchor cultural agencies, which are the National Endowment for the Arts, the NEA, the National Endowment for Humanities, NEH, and then Institute of Museum and Library Services, IMLS. So since the start of the administration, there have been sort of significant cutbacks, if not wholesale, just sort of wipes out of those budgets, which have affected and canceled grants throughout the country that, you know, communities were counting on. Also significantly reduced staff. And we're looking ahead to the 2026 budget, and the president has called for the complete elimination of those agencies in the budget. So we have our work cut out for us. I think, you know, in addition to what's happening with the federal cultural agencies, there's also things that we're tracking. You know, changes at the State Department affect art and public places programs, art and diplomacy programs. Certainly changes at the Department of Education will have impacts for arts education programs.
Right.
As well as just, you know, sort of changes happening at our anchor cultural institutions like the Kennedy Center and the Smithsonian.
Right.
Which, you know, challenge sort of traditional independence of those agencies and sort of their historic connection to amplifying and celebrating sort of creative expression.
Right. Such a difficult time too for the arts, and you know, it's really a nonpartisan you know, sector, and so it's just kind of hard to, I think, imagine whenever you see how it really affects people, and people don't really even realize it, like performing arts and, you know, things of that nature. Music, people always don't really equate it to that. They always think of like arts as like maybe Rembrandt and those kinds of things, right? But like, I think it is such a huge part of the culture. So tell us a little bit about your vision.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think one of the most important things, and the thing that we're really trying to communicate, is that the organizations that will be most impacted by this are small organizations in hard to reach communities, including rural communities, a part of this country, right? This is going to affect them the most if we're unable to sort of turn the tide here. So I think part of our vision at Americans for the Arts is obviously to continue to advocate for public infrastructure for the arts. And when things at the federal level, become unstable, then it puts additional strain on state and local governments, right, to sort of fill the gaps. And I'm sure you all are feeling that in lots of different areas.
Definitely.
And so part of what we need to do is make sure that our state level infrastructure and our local level infrastructure is also fortified in this moment, and that we continue to think about ways to ensure across the ecosystem, from the federal level down to the local level, that public funding is available, because it has a really unique ability to get to hard to reach areas.
Right.
And especially in local governments, that those dollars can move so much quickly and can be so much more targeted. So I think part of the vision is just making sure that the entire public ecosystem is healthy and strong.
Yeah, definitely. Give us like a little bit of a nugget, because I kind of think that sometimes we start to think that we have to go big or go home, right? And what I think that people don't realize that actually arts access is probably one of the best ways, and it's probably the most affordable in a city.
Yes.
Do you have any programs that are like that a mayor could implement? I call it the low-lying fruit with massive impact.
Yeah.
And I mean, just giving someone a paintbrush, take 10 children, give them a paintbrush on, the side of a concrete wall, a space in your city, can absolutely inspire and change and do wonders. Talk about, are you seeing anything like that a mayor can take away, certain little nuggets?
Well, I'm going to give a little bit of a plug for a resource tool that we have at Americans for the Arts, where you can go and basically look up the arts intersection at any other sort of sector. So you can look at how the arts impact public health, you can look at how the arts impact public safety, and there's actual examples of how that's working in other cities that you can sort of borrow from. But the reality is, whatever you are dealing with in your own municipalities and your own sort of governments, whatever your priorities might be, the arts have a role to play in helping you achieve those. Economic development, I said, public safety. We know that students' outcomes in education are better when they are engaged in arts education. So I would say, I guess I don't have a specific example, but what I would ask that you do is that if you have a challenge, invite the creatives in your community into that challenge, and they're going to come up with some really wonderful solutions. And as you mentioned, the arts punch well above their weight. So an investment in the arts, I think the National Endowment for the Arts estimates that for every $1 invested in the arts, there's a $9 economic benefit return. So these will be some of the smartest, most strategic investments that you can make. So I guess my advice would just be, if there's a challenge that you're trying to solve, invite artists into the conversation and see what they come up with.
It's so true. And a lot of them, are introverted, but they're so incredibly artistic and creative.
Yeah.
And mayors is one of the best tools you could possibly use. It transformed my city. Reno is the biggest little city. We're known for gaming and another word called prostitution. Anyway, I didn't say that. But the perception of my city for so long was, obviously predominantly gaming, and, Nevada's the Wild West. But it was the arts that really put us on the map in transforming my city, and not to mention all the different sectors that you talked about, anywhere from, mental health, and go out there and listen to more music. Put music in spaces. It is a game changer, and the culture, but that's one thing, a little tiny thing. Go out there and put music maybe under an underpass, and it really transforms spaces and lives and communities. So you are
thank you for
impressive.
Your advocacy, and thank you for your...
We got to wrap this up, but I have a fire round for you really quickly. I want to know, Banksy or Burning Man?
Burning Man.
Oh, this side of the room, Banksy or Burning Man? Both. Oh, that's a politician answer. Banksy or Burning Man? Burning Man. Okay, Mozart or Meatloaf?
I'm going to say Mozart. I'll take both.
You'll take both?
Yeah.
Can you sing it? No. I would do anything. I can't sing.
I can't sing either.
Okay, last but not least, Swan Lake or Hamilton?
Those are just, that's not fair.
Oh, come on. What about over here? Hamilton or Swan Lake? There you go. Hamilton. What about over here?
I just saw the Joffrey Ballet in Chicago just did a really beautiful
Fantastic.
rendition of Swan Lake that
I love
everybody
it.
should see.
All right. Erin Harkey, everyone.
Thank you.
Please give her a huge round of applause. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, President Chivy, for a great conversation about the arts. And so excited about all that you're doing for our conference. In 2021, the U.S. Conference of Mayors worked tirelessly to secure the passage of one of the most transformative pieces of legislation in our lifetimes, the bipartisan infrastructure law. Now, the work is no longer about passing the law, it's about delivering results for our communities. To help deliver results, the local infrastructure hub has provided cities across the country with vital support to navigate the complexities and changing landscape of federal funding. Under a new administration, the need to build infrastructure to meet the demands of our metro economies continues. A strong federal-city partnership that delivers results is essential to meeting the needs of our neighborhoods and retaining our global economic leadership. The two go hand in hand. To discuss how the hub and cities are helping to maintain and promote this federal-city partnership, which is so critical, we welcome to the stage Fontana Mayor Aquanetta Warren, Columbia, South Carolina Mayor Daniel Rickman, and Austin Mayor Kurt Watson.
Welcome, everyone. I said welcome. Are you awake? Yeah. Okay. All right. I know y'all just ate. Don't go there. Now, I want to thank my panelists, Columbia Mayor Dan Rickman. Let's give him a hand. And Austin Mayor Kirk Watson.
Let's give it up for Aquanetta Warren.
Yes, yes, yes.
And the local infrastructure hub for sponsoring this panel. The local infrastructure hub has been incredible resources provided to the great cities. As they have competed for infrastructure funds from the bipartisan infrastructure law, and the hub will continue to assist cities as this law continues to be implemented under the Trump administration. We want to thank our partners in the hub, Bloomberg Philanthropies, Results for America, and the National League of Cities.
Yes, sir.
The hub has been a great example of collaboration. And we want to thank all the mayors who have shared all their projects in the hub sessions. So we won't miss words today. The Trump administration, the process of putting its own stamp on the IIJA programs, in some instances changing criteria, in other instances canceling some programs, and in some instances delaying grant agreements for awarded grants for an extra layer of review. But we must make the infrastructure law work and do our part to make it successful. What we want to underscore today is the importance of maintaining and strengthening the federal-city partnerships in infrastructure development, especially with Congress poised to reauthorize highway transit and intercity passenger rail programs. And we couldn't have two better mayors describe how important the federal-city partnership is to meeting our national infrastructure needs. Before we go to the panel, it's important to remember that day at the White House, when many of us stood in the grass and said, we are committed to making this partnership work with our federal partners. That same passion needs to happen now. Mayor Rickman and Mayor Watson, tell us how you are approaching infrastructure development now in your city, and give us an overview of what's happening and what projects you're working on that are transformative.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to get to say a few words. Let me talk a little bit about what's going on in Austin, Texas right now. We're, as many of you know, a rapidly growing city, and in order to keep up with that success, if you will, we're having an historic time in terms of infrastructure projects. To give you just a couple of examples, we're doing a new the Walnut Creek wastewater plant. That's a $1 billion project that we've got in play for that wastewater project, and we're doing a number of things with it, not just what we traditionally think of with a wastewater project, but we're using this for reclamation purposes, conservation, and because we're prone to flooding, and we're seeing with changes in the climate more intense flooding in some instances. We're even building as part of this project, we're adding to it in terms of flooding, making sure that we're more resilient. Our airport, just this week, I got the pleasure of cutting a ribbon on the brand new global entry point for Austin Bergstrom International Airport, something that we badly needed, but like I say, we're cutting ribbons on it. In addition to that, it's about overall a $4 billion project at our airport. We're going to add a concourse that has 20 additional gates. We're making a difference in taxiways and our runways as well. We're also in the beginning stages of Project Connect. Project Connect is our rail project, a voter-approved rail project and additional bus project. And then the final thing I'll mention in terms of infrastructure is Interstate 35, which runs through downtown. Interstate 35 actually has been a dividing line, a negative dividing line in our town for a long time. The state of Texas is putting over $4 billion into redoing that roadway and actually lowering the roadway, and so the city is involved in trying to cap aspects of that to reclaim that area and to connect our community better. So it's a historic amount of money, about $25 billion total in infrastructure projects right now.
Amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. We've got three projects I wanted to talk about a little bit. One is rail elimination. We just got $204 million last December awarded to us. It's one of those projects that's being scrubbed right now, but it's a $300 million project that is along with the federal money, state and local match to help us get rail elimination. We're going to eliminate about 15 crossings across and elevate a major crossing that cuts off part of our community. This is right in the heart of our city, and the crazy part about this is that they've been talking about this for 120 years, and we're finally going to be able to do it. But it changes our downtown, especially an area that's cut off from safety. Our police, our fire are cut off when trains are sitting there. Why it's important, South Carolina's fastest growing state in the union right now, but we have a lot of automotive. So we have a lot of freight, and Columbia's the city is in the center, and so we're getting a lot of that freight through. So we have 800 car exchange line down the road, and so it can block for hours, really causing us headache. Our other project's $134 million canal, our water canal plant fix. In 2015, we had this incredible flood that wiped out. Mayor Benjamin was the mayor at the time. We've been working on that project since then. Finally got funded, finally through FEMA and FERC, and now we have the opportunity to make this happen. What's important about it, it allowed us to have, along with fixing our canal, which is our main water source, it allows us to use our hydro plant again, which is 10 megawatts of power, so we can offset our water treatment, but we also allows us to put in an alternative water source that we're gonna have. So we're gonna have redundancy built into the system. Fixing the head gates, allowing us to have that alternative water source, which also gives us a platform to put in our connectivity for our greenway system, which helps us tie in 27 miles of greenway trail across our riverfront. And then lastly, we went local. We get a penny sales tax that passed at 61%. It's going to be $5 billion over the next 20 years for us, and we're using federal monies to match these projects and taking advantage of the Build America Bureau so we can go ahead and start working on those projects ahead of time by borrowing up to $1 billion to jumpstart the project. So our relationships federally are important.
Mayors, this panel is on how federal-city partnerships deliver results. How has your partnership with the federal government delivered results in your city?
Well, I will tell you, they've been a great partner, and we're at a slow point now. As we all know, we've got grants that are being scrubbed. We need the federal government to put more bodies into those departments to get that money out, to make sure that we don't run up costs for the delays. But our partnership, we couldn't do some of these projects. These are monumental projects that are changing the quality of life in our community. So staying in touch with our senators, working with our congressmen, meeting all of our, if it's transportation or EPA or DOE, it doesn't matter. We're meeting with them on a constant basis, keeping that line of communication, because we just can't do it without them.
That's right.
Yeah, well, I'd have told you, if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd have told you it's a great partnership. I mean, we received a BRIC grant that helps with another wastewater plant, $50 million. That highway that I said that they've lowered and we were trying to cap, we got a $104 million grant on that at one point. We've had 2 different grants related to safe streets and roads for all, and then we had a bridge grant for in the range of about $33 million that helps us with one of our great parks. But that BRIC grant, that wastewater one, has been canceled. That cap, that $104 million, that's been canceled. And while I don't want to just cry over spilled milk and whine up here, but that's got to, we've got to be, as the mayor says, we've got to be working to make some change. Now, I'm a little hopeful because I've seen that the Secretary of Department of Transportation is working on billions of dollars to finalize some obligations on some grants. And I'm also, the president's budget also has a significant amount of money for capital infrastructure grants that would, for example, help us with Project Connect, that rail system that we're talking about. So he's absolutely right. We have to be continuing to work on this because right now that partnership is frayed, in my opinion.
Mayor Watson, while you're talking about that, you are leading the conference efforts in the reauthorization of the Surface Transportation Bill in Congress. Can you talk a little bit more about what direction you're headed in and what we mayors can help with in that reform?
Yeah, and I'll talk real fast about that and I want to emphasize something. So I want to emphasize we have to have your involvement in this. And I'll say that 2 or 3 times before I finish this answer. But first of all, I think there's a real opportunity to the point that was just made. I think there's a real opportunity. And I think that Mayor Hovland, who chairs the Conference of Mayors Transportation Committee, is doing a really good job of helping us with that. Wow. And here's the opportunity. The weakness right now, is that at the federal level, they're not recognizing the partnership enough with local communities. Now, that happens when it comes to transit, or airports, for example. If you have an airport, the money goes directly to the airport, like in Austin, if the federal money does. If you have transit, like in Madison, it goes directly to that, if you're the transit provider. But when it comes to the roadways and the highways and the local highways, it doesn't do it that way. So we're really pushing the concept of localism, just like happened with ARPA, right? Where the money didn't go through the state departments of transportation, but came directly to the cities. And we're working very closely with our partners, our local government partners, like the National League of Cities and the counties and others. And we're getting good reaction. And I think the reason we're getting good reaction is they realize that the 80 years that we've done it this way isn't meeting the needs of 2025 and going forward. So here's the point, and here's the emphasis I want to make again. We can't do this without all of the mayors focusing on your local priorities and getting with your members of Congress. The House committee on this is probably going to take it up this summer. And I think the Senate committee will take it up very shortly after that. So we need to be moving on this. And if there's a way for us to help you with this, help you, help us, and help all of us together, then let us know, because we need to be moving.
I want to piggyback on that. I think it's very important that we take real live examples and share them.
Exactly.
Share them at every level. Make sure that the intergovernmentals and every agency has real live, and we commit to go to Washington and testify, do everything, share it with our, because when you can show them real projects and we can show them outcomes, how we as mayors get it done directly.
That's right.
It makes a big impact.
Good.
You know, and listening to both of you, it's quite clear that there's been a lot of change in Washington, but there's got to be a lot of change with we mayors.
Yeah.
And just to sit at home and look at television and go, oh my God, this ain't gonna work. It's up to us to decide what strategic opportunities exist. Remember, everybody used to say you just need to be shelf ready. You got to be shelf ready, airline ready, and hotel ready. DC. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
What suggestions or ideas are you thinking about locally that can help that environment for the rest of us nationally? Remember ARPA, how we were on conference calls all the time? We made it clear, we all had one message, that it had to be directly to local.
I think directly to local. I think the other piece is work on, you know, let's help them reform and get rid of regulation, make it easier for us to do it. Then we can continue to move forward. And I think that's our key piece here moving in the future.
And I'll emphasize that. Show how it makes it more efficient and gets the money where you most need it, and where their constituents just want to get, like they're our constituents, right? They want to get from point A to point B in a seamless way. They're not worried about where the money flows through. We're going to be in the better position to get that money so that it's seamless, get it where it needs to go, and we need to make sure we're communicating that.
Well, as you can see, we have been given wise direction as mayors. It doesn't matter if you're a small, large, or medium city. It all applies to making sure that we stay focused, not just on the prize, but the process to make it work. Thank you for your leadership in the conference. Mayors, let's continue to apply and implement the bipartisan infrastructure law. Use the local infrastructure hub as a resource for navigation changes with the new administration. And let's keep building our cities and making them even stronger than they are today. And as always, we thank Bloomberg, Philanthropies, and Jamie Lavin for their incredible support. Let's give our panelists a big hand.
Thank you, Mayor Warren.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Please welcome the U.S. Conference of Mayors CEO and Executive Director Tom Cochran.
In 2010, I went to see Mick Cornett, who is the mayor of Oklahoma City. And I think Mick is here today. I want to say hello to him and salute him. And so I met this guy, this tall, very tall, handsome guy, and he was the chief of staff. So he was 27 years old at that time, David Holt. And he went on after that to be a state senator. And then he and Mick were very close. They had a plan, and he was elected mayor of Oklahoma City. And he has been very active with us, and as you know, has been very strong in this organization, and we're so proud of him. Let's watch the video, please.
I've been mayor for 7 years, but I've actually been around the United States Conference of Mayors for nearly 2 decades. My first annual meeting was in 2007 in Los Angeles. I was my predecessor's chief of staff, and I was 28 years old. We were bidding at that meeting to host the annual meeting in Oklahoma City in 2010. And we got it. So as chief of staff, I was immediately in charge of making sure that we did a great job. And it was a fantastic annual meeting. I had the Flaming Lips play a concert. So sometimes people have asked me as mayor if I want to try and host the annual meeting in OKC, and I'm like, man, I've already done that. So I've been around this organization my whole adult life. I mean, look at it this way. Tom Cochran has known me since I was 27 years old. I was born and raised in Oklahoma City, but I went out to college in DC at GW. I think the first mayor I ever actually met was Marion Barry. I had these amazing opportunities at a really young age to work in the Capitol for the Speaker of the House, to work in the White House for President Bush. But after I moved home from DC, I ended up at City Hall, and I quickly understood that this was the best level of government. I spent 5 years as Mayor Cornett's chief of staff, and then I was elected to the state Senate, where I served 8 years. But when Mick moved on and I had the chance to come back to City Hall, that felt like home. After I was elected mayor in 2018, I jumped right into the conference. I was elected to the advisory board and then trustee, and I worked on several initiatives. I was most proud to serve with President Nan Whaley as co-chairs trying to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law. Some days, we mayors were the bipartisan in that name.
And mayors sat on the first row there on the south lawn of the White House because everyone in DC acknowledged that would not have passed without the bipartisan advocacy of America's mayors, and we're here to continue that tradition.
Then I got a chance to follow in Mick's footsteps and begin the work to serve as president. I've been really blessed to serve as an officer with President Hillary Sheevey and President Andy Ginther and Second Vice President Todd Gloria. And thanks to Andy, I chaired our efforts to write bylaws for the first time. I'm also the dean of a law school, so that was actually a fun project for me. Oklahoma City is in a renaissance, and I know you'd think a mayor would say that, but the numbers back me up. We have the lowest unemployment in the country, crime is down, our team made the NBA Finals, we're rolling out $1.1 billion in MAPS 4 projects, we're building $1 billion new arena, and we're going to host 7 events in the 2028 Los Angeles Summer Olympics. And when I was born in OKC, we were the 37th largest city, and now we're the 20th largest. OKC is an example of why mayors matter. We've had a string of great mayors who have cast a vision, and that leadership has made all the difference. That's what mayors do. They lift their cities. They carry their cities through good times and bad. They do the right thing. They bring people together. Mayors get things done. And I'm so grateful that I get to be friends with such an amazing group of people.
I'm really excited to have David come in as president.
I think you can bet on very, very eloquent statements, a lot of incredibly good wit, and a lot of good governance.
He's like a superhero, right? Like, he doesn't flinch at danger. You know, he just looks at the challenge in front of us and says, okay, let's go do this.
He's a great story, right? He's seen both sides of it, having worked with the previous mayor from Oklahoma City to staff and guide Mayor Cornett through his leadership. Of course, tremendous legislative leadership. He is articulate, he's funny, he's focused, he's a principled person who's taken a lot of difficult stands, but he understands what it takes to move cities forward.
I think David has established himself as a great leader, working on both sides of the aisle, both nationally and in his own state of Oklahoma.
What I think is going to be really important as we transition into the new leadership under Mayor Holt is to be able to have someone that will advocate for local control and for cities on this federal level.
He's funny as shit if you spend any time with him, but I don't know if you want me to say that.
Hope comes in with a different material. He's a stand-up comedy. You know, when you talk to him, you don't get that impression that he's that funny, but when you leave the room, your stomach hurts from his laughter.
I'm also really looking forward to the Flaming Lips playing our annual meeting this year. He hasn't announced it yet, but I'm expecting it to happen. Fingers crossed.
He's a team player, and he believes in getting things done too. I think he'll take that present day priority and make it a reality even more.
David Holt will bring height. He will bring a great sense of humor, and he'll bring that moral clarity that we need in this time of turmoil and transition. Really excited to be able to look up to a mayor for the first time in my life.
We have very serious work ahead of us, but we have to approach it with a sense of hope and a sense of humor and a sense that we can actually get things done.
I'm looking forward to him perhaps building bridges that may not have seemed so obvious.
And he'll be a great representative for America's mayors. So I predicted a very good year ahead, and I just thank you, David Holt, for stepping up on behalf of all of us, and know that I'll have your back and be supporting you every step of the way.
I'm honored to have this role as your president. I know that like a mayor serves their constituents, I serve you. This organization exists to ensure that our sum is greater than our parts. And I'm going to work every day to make sure that we realize that potential. Because this collection of mayors is the greatest group of leaders that our country has, and our country needs you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the incoming 83rd president of OKC, David Holt.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. 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 I hope you're not standing up to leave. I've got some remarks. Please sit down. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who was in that video. That was really touching and amazing. That was really very meaningful. Thank you. Although there was that part, I don't know if you noticed, where they talk about how tall I am, and then they had like 3 images of me with short people. That seemed harsh, including Mayor Greenberg. I apologize for that. I didn't edit the video, but well, and thank you, Tom. Like he said, you know, we've known each other a long time, really my whole adult life. So it's really amazing to stand here now as the incoming president. So thank you for the trust you have placed in me. Starting tomorrow, I'm not the president yet. The complaint box is still on Andy Ginther's desk for the next 24 hours. But starting tomorrow, thank you for the honor of serving this organization as president. I certainly want to begin my comments this afternoon by thanking President Ginther for his service. Like all of us, Andy has a full-time job as mayor. Annie has a full-time job as husband and dad. If you've ever talked to him on the phone, you know that because you probably talked to him while he was coming from or going to one of his daughter's volleyball tournaments. On top of those very important roles in his life, Andy took on the presidency of this organization. And he's done a fantastic job guiding us through a national election and the transition to a new administration and Congress. He's kept us focused on the important issue of housing, and he's done all the little things to facilitate the operations of the organization. And he's also done a great job of keeping myself and Second Vice President Todd Gloria engaged and a part of his work, which is important for continuity. His predecessor, who I also served with as an officer, Hillary Sheevey, did the same. A good president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors is doing 25 things a day that you don't see, but you rely upon. And we owe Andy a debt of gratitude because he did all those things and more. Thank you, President Ginther, for your service as president. I want to also express gratitude to another person who served as president of this organization, and I think he's here today. Where is Mayor Cornett? Right here. Okay, yes. Mayor Mick Cornett hired me as his chief of staff at City Hall in 2006 when I was 26 years old. He served as mayor of OKC for 14 years and as president of this organization from 2016 to 2017. I assume when Mick hired me in 2006, he hoped he'd get a good chief of staff. I don't know if he envisioned all of this. You know, Tom said a moment ago that we had a plan. I don't know if we had a plan. I might have had a plan. Don't know that Mick had a plan for this. But in many ways, he delivered me to this path and to this life, and I'm very grateful, and I'm also glad he's here today. Thank you, Mayor Cornett. And thank you to Tom Cochran and his team, many of whom have been a part of my life as well since 2006. Ed Summers came to my inauguration as mayor in 2018. And thank you to each of you, my fellow mayors, who have encouraged me and supported me over the last 7 years as I moved toward this role. And finally, my family, Rachel, George, and Maggie. They couldn't be here today because we all have a lot going on in this season of life, but I'll be with them at Game 7 tomorrow night, and Thunder games are some of our favorite times together. I'm grateful to them for an infinite number of things, but in this context specifically, I've gone to a lot of U.S. Conference of Mayors meetings over the last 2 decades, and I thank them for their support and love as I do this work. So thank you, Rachel, George, and Maggie. I love you. Now let's talk briefly about the work we do collectively here at the United States Conference of Mayors. We have each decided to be mayors, putting ourselves at the center of community decision-making in such a way that our personal decisions and actions materially affect anywhere from 30,000 people to millions of people. In taking on these roles, we are continuing work that has lasted for millennia. It was inevitable.
that humans would mass together in close proximity to each other. Doing so provided any number of efficiencies and, if handled correctly, could actually enhance quality of life. It was quickly recognized that this congregating together had created something new, a city. And a new thing needs a name. So we began naming them. Cities like Jericho and Eridu, Damascus and Jerusalem. As people migrated farther from the cradle of civilization, more cities were born, and they became the foundation of empires. The greatest empire, for better or worse, in human history is named after a city. Rome is a city. The Greeks invented many of the democratic and planning concepts we still utilize right here in our own communities, and in places like Athens, they conceptualized society around cities. And there is no truth to the rumor that Tom Cochrane had a junior role with the Athens League of Cities. Nations came eventually, but they were always just extensions of cities where governance was born. Caesar was really just a mayor. Pericles was really just a mayor. So I say all of this to say, don't ever ask me if I'm running for higher office. There are different offices and different ways to serve, but there is no more important place in human existence than the city, and there is no higher office than the mayor. Honestly, so few governors or senators are remembered for even a decade after they have left office. But people in our cities can tell you the names of mayors going back half a century. Everyone knows their mayor. At any given time in your city, the 10 most famous living people are the President of the United States, a handful of movie stars and athletes, and you. So what we do here has history and significance and visibility, and it is critically important to our residents and to society at large. That is why mayors matter, and it's why our gatherings and our fellowship is unique in American politics. Every kind of elected office in this country has an association, but this one, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, matters the most. I truly believe that. And here are the legs of the stool that hold up this organization as I see it. And I'm going to boil them down to 4 things. 1, advocacy. 2, access. 3, information and best practices. And 4, collegiality and culture. Maybe all that's sort of obvious, but for those of us charged with leading this organization, I think it's helpful to be able to articulate the basic reasons for this organization's existence and to have these basic priorities front of mind at all times. First, advocacy. Advocacy is the work we do collectively to speak up for cities and mayors and local control. And it is the work we do, usually in Washington, to protect the partnerships that we have with the federal government and to secure new support. Advocacy is fundamentally why we have the resolutions process here at our annual meeting, so that we have the official positions for which to advocate. I fully recognize that in Washington it may rarely feel as if the wind is at our back this next year, but we'll work hard and we'll be strategic. This organization is pragmatic, because that's who mayors are. We'll never stop looking for areas of commonality, especially if we can find it in housing and infrastructure. And we simply have to do everything we can to protect what has already been promised, because the residents of our cities rely on that support. Second, access. By this, I mean the opportunity this organization gives us to meet with people that we might not be able to meet otherwise, from federal officials to international leaders to prominent thought leaders, and even the business representatives in this room we partner with at these meetings. Visiting with influential and fascinating people is a unique opportunity we receive through this organization. It's a big reason for these meetings, and we'll continue to work to deliver those unique opportunities. Third, information and best practices. Similarly, a big reason why we come together in these meetings is to learn from each other and thought leaders who are working on urban issues. We'll work to ensure that you are pleased with the programming you receive in this regard. I think receiving important information and best practices is the #1 reason we state back home as to why we get on that plane and come here. I won't forget that. And finally, collegiality and culture. The opportunity to be with fellow mayors is the secret sauce. It's maybe what really gets you on that plane when there are so many other things pulling you in other directions. It's rejuvenating to be with your fellow mayors. We're friends, and we can't replicate that back home. There's only one of you in your city. But here you get to be with people who uniquely understand your challenges. And we have to preserve the bipartisan, really nonpartisan culture that is intrinsic to our collegiality. That is truly unique now among national associations of elected officials. They have almost all lost their nonpartisan culture. We've each worked really hard to preserve ours, and that is something I'll monitor every day, and it takes all of us to preserve it. These are the legs of the stool that make this conference what it is, and it's what I'll focus on in this coming year, as I assume all presidents of this organization have for the last 93 years. And to be clear, there is a professional and experienced staff here at the conference and dozens of mayors working in leadership positions with specific portfolios. So you are not depending on me to do everything. But you are depending on me to provide oversight and direction to that work and to keep us focused on the 4 purposes I just discussed and to leverage my platform and title in every way I can to support that work, and I certainly will. Mayors have long been America's greatest leaders. Mayors get things done. Mayors are the adults in the room. And today, we're also sort of America's great hope. We may be the last serious people left in American politics. We are optimistic, we are unifying, we are visionary, we are simultaneously idealistic and pragmatic. In our daily work, we rely upon old-fashioned but proven democratic ideals of pluralism and compromise. Mayors are the modern protectors of the American experiment. And this organization is the one that protects and serves mayors. That means that the Conference of Mayors sits at the epicenter of America's future. If that future is to be as bright or brighter than the past, it will be because of the work that happens right here at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. As your president for this next year, I will remember that every day. Thank you for this honor to serve you at this vital organization, and let's get to work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for attending. We stand adjourned.